Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, mothers, fathers, daughters, sons, brothers, and sisters. Welcome back to the AFVRC for rounds number 2 and 3 at an incredible circuit up in Bonnie, Scotland. It is, of course, Knockhill. Very much looking forward to this, in case you couldn't tell. My name's Chris Buxton. I'll be one of your commentators throughout tonight's festivities. Joining me, the local expert, the racing guru himself, John Munro. John, welcome back. Great to see you once again. And what a circuit we come to.
What a circuit indeed. I mean, Knockhill is known around the world, but it's known even more, funnily enough, in Scotland, because it is pretty much the only proper big circuit that we have up here. It's a tricky one. It's basically a roller coaster with some tarmac on it, and it always produces exciting driving, but also equally exciting racing as well.
Very much so. Roller coaster is absolutely the right word for it. Anyone that has turned a virtual lap, myself being in those numbers, will know it is not an easy circuit whatsoever. There may well be very few turns, but the challenge is absolutely colossal. We were watching here at just that drop from the chicane. Well, we would be looking at it anti-clockwise from this particular view. And that is watered down somewhat from your real life experiences here. Am I correct in saying, Mr. Munro?
Yeah, for anyone out there who's driven on the real circuit and on the virtual circuit in a sim, you'll know that when you actually get to a real circuit, the biggest thing is you really do feel the undulation, you feel the elevation changes more so in real life than you do in a sim. And the thing about Knockhill is you feel it pretty strongly in a sim, so you can just imagine what it's like to actually take the wheel around a circuit like this. It's also run in both directions in real life as well, which is interesting. Not all circuits can say that, but Knockhill has the correct safety implementation so that racing's allowed both ways. So sometimes you drive down the chicane that you're seeing right now, but of course tonight we're going to be using the regular layout. One of the things about Knockhill, of course, Chris, is very, very difficult to overtake. You can force a move, but a bit like Donington in a sense, it's more so about forcing an error and then taking advantage of someone else's problem rather than actually just going for a move yourself. There's really only one proper easy overtaking opportunity, and that is, of course, into Taylor's hairpin that, thank you for that, we're seeing right now.
Absolutely so. That's it. Let's have a look at how the championship standings look from our last foray in Donington Park. Stuart McFadden taking, quite frankly, dominant wins in the opening race and also the reverse grid race. In the McLaren, sits pretty on 200 points. Adam Barron, a double second place finish for him in the Porsche, sees him in second, and Chris Boland a double third. So our podium was locked out quite consistently last time. The Luke Arpino in the Porsche is in fourth, with James King in fifth position, although those points are the other way around, I think. I just read them out, beg your pardon. So James King fourth, Luke Arpino fifth, Peter Finch in sixth position, Chris Slater in seventh, Adam Waters in eighth, Steve Ward ninth, with Jack Trunwitt rounding out the top 10 finishes. This is how our team's championship currently sits. Now, as a reminder, whilst the Royal Air Force has by far the most numerous entrants as far as Air Force representation, only the top 2 drivers from any one squad will actually score points for their respective team. It is still quite a dominant performance from the Air Force so far. We are only 2 rounds into what has been slightly curtailed. It was going to be a 20-round season, but it's now slightly been shortened to an 18-round season. Still plenty of times for our Army, Navy, and our veterans to close that gap down.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the moment, it's actually 10 Royal Air Force drivers in the top 10 positions in the driver's standings. But then you've got Scott Eastwood for Royal Navy. You've then got a couple of veterans and Dan Hardwick and Colin Scott as well. So those 3 will be eager to try and push their way into the top 10, although I don't believe we're going to see Dan Hardwick out there racing tonight in the McLaren. Something else of note, of course, is that of the top 5 in the championship, we've got 4 different manufacturers represented. We've got McLaren, Porsche, Aston Martin, and BMW. So it's nice to see the variety in the GT4 field. And obviously, as I was saying before, the big thing is going to be, can anybody from the Royal Navy or any of the veterans stop the RAF? Because at the moment, it's a whitewash of the top 10, as we now see Ben Cullen on the circuit, and this is our first look at Knockhill today, Chris, and it's not raining, which is a surprise, because obviously iRacing recently introduced rain. I know it's not actually there yet for GT4s, and that's why we don't have rain, but I wouldn't have been surprised, to be honest, if it was kind of locked to rain anyway.
Right, riding on board then with Jack Ajewski in the number 99 Mercedes, one of my favourite sounding cars in the entire field, coming up to Duffer's Dip. Dip is absolutely the right word for it. You will leave your lunch behind in certain vehicles. Getting down through the gears, you're trying to brake and turn at the same time. That's too deep though. That's coming through McIntyre. That's how easy it is to run that a little bit too wide. Butchers, and then the chicane next. You jump over that crest that we were looking at. He's actually jumping out of the way of one of the cars coming through. We'll continue the lap though, as we are now coming through Clark. A quick right-hander, then this long sweeping left. That is Railway Stroke, one of the few opportunities that the cars have to actually get all the horses deployed. And then it's heavy on the brakes for the aforementioned Taylor's hairpin. Down through the gears, keep the car steady. Again, it's a very heavily cambered curve, so the car is kind of in a posture it's not quite comfortable with. But that, as quick as it is, less than a minute, only a 50-second lap, so we'll be doing many laps here. But the challenge is just incredible in this circuit.
It really is. It's completely unique as well, Knockhill. I mean, the lap's almost as short as Brands Hatch Indy, for example, but it feels like so much happens on that lap. You're just dancing from corner to corner. That's the best way you can describe it. As we now look at Steve Ward in the Porsche heading towards Duffer's Dip. Obviously, a blind corner, and it's all about the second part, and then getting slowed down for McIntyre. It's probably the loneliest apex curb in the UK. It's very, very rare that anybody hits the apex curb at McIntyre's because you're so committed down through Leslie's. But I have to say, Steve Ward nailed it on that particular occasion. A little bit wide on the second curb there over the Black Circle chicane as we head up towards Clark's. This one's got a blind late apex. You just hold it in, and just look at that stunning view there. Always one wheel up in the air as you head towards the exit curb, and then it's just a power battle all the way down through Hislops and towards Taylor's hairpin. How late can you brake? Where's your apex going to be? A few different lines you can take through Taylor's hairpin. As you can see, it's very wide. Again, the elevation change within the one corner is spectacular. And then it's all about getting on that power nice and early. So easy to ruin your lap with a bad exit out of Taylor's. But Steve Ward seems to be on a pretty good one. Oh, we haven't seen the whole thing on board, obviously, but he's come across the line now. Looks like he's maybe sitting in third at the moment. A few bits of confusion on the timing screen, but we'll have to wait and see, I guess, when the race starts. One thing I would say, Chris, as well, I'm not seeing our championship leader, Stuart McFadden, anywhere, which is a real shame because Stuart's Scottish. I know he was really looking forward to racing at Knockhill, but we've had a slight change in the calendar due to the delay from last week, and at the moment in qualifying, I'm not seeing him on the leaderboard, so that would be a real shame if we missed out on seeing Stuart tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. So Stuart was such a dominant force last time out in Donington Park, taking both wins by an absolute mile. It wasn't even close. So it would be a great shame if we don't get to see his mighty McLaren around the twists and turns of Knockhill. We are now watching Peter Plastow in the 312 Aston Martin. Not a car that I would expect to do well here at Knockhill. It is it's quite long. It's not necessarily heavier than the rest. They're roughly equal in power to weight and things like that. The Aston is known as a bit more of a power brute than it is a light and agile car, much more sort of the Porsche and BMW's area of expertise. But either way, that's not stopping him. Currently third in the standings.
Yeah, Knockhill very much a suspension circuit. You need your springs to be going well for you. You need the car to be settled over the bumps and undulation. And obviously, it being fixed setup, there's not too much you can do about that. So you really are relying on the manufacturer and the iRacing default setups. But Peter Plastow seems to be going really well in the Aston at the moment. It looks like we've got Boland on pole position ahead of Cullen. There's only a couple of tenths in it, as you'd expect. But it looks like Plastow's going to back out of that particular lap. We've only got just over 4 minutes to go in this session, so not long now. And there we pick up our current pole sitter, Chris Boland, in the 86. Boland was involved, of course, in those incredible battles for P2 last time out a couple of weeks ago at Donington Park. We had an amazing three-way scrap for that second position in the first race, and it also got pretty exciting in the second as well. So he'll be looking to continue his podium streak, and he's certainly put himself in a strong position at the moment, Chris, on pole position.
Yeah, he's only a tenth and a half away, which in most circumstances is not much of a distance. But here, it's because the track is so short, I would fully expect to see those gaps decrease even further. So we did briefly see Bob Connor. There's Colin Scott in, again, another one of the Aston Martins. Seems to be doing quite well, despite my earlier prediction. It wasn't a guy I kind of cited to do well. But either way, no one's told him that. In the number 221 car, coming over the line to try and improve on his time. Just 9 thousandths behind King in the 23 car. Now that is our lead BMW, James King. Came home fifth in the standings. Oh no, beg your pardon, fourth in the standings, following last time out. So yeah, James King was a little bit more distant in the race at Donington Park. Oh, do you see how Colin just caught the apex a little bit too hard? Aston taking very ill to that. As we have an errant Porsche in the form of Steve Ward.
We do, and I don't think it's going to be the first errant Porsche or car of any other manufacturer we're going to see tonight, because I think mistakes are going to happen, whether you're an experienced iRacer and sim racer or you're very inexperienced. We do have a great range here in the Armed Forces Virtual Racing Challenge. We have such a skill range and an experience range, but Knockhill really does, test the best of us. No matter how good or experienced you are, it's so easy to just hit the curb and just the wrong way, end up on your roof. I've done it many, many times, thankfully only virtually, and we'll see drivers, just losing the back end at various points all throughout the grid. So it's going to be a race of attrition as well, and it's definitely one where you need to keep your head cool and keep your calm as this race progresses. We're watching Peter Plastow again in the Aston Martin, heading into the hairpin. He's going to go for that late apex. He does get the car in nicely, a little bit of the curb, could have done a little bit more, but with the speed you carry in there, it's very tricky to get the full two wheels over there. But he's going to cross the line now. It doesn't look like that was an improvement, but he's going to head on to another lap now, as we now jump to Chris Slater in another one of the RAF Aston Martins. These great blue cars looking good on the grid, and they were doing really well last week, has to be said as well, Chris. We saw quite a few of these guys at the front of the grid, but not long to go now in qualifying. Everyone's going to have only 1 or 2 laps to make it work, and of course this grid sets the grid order for race 1. Race 2 will be decided by a reverse grid, and that will depend on where you finished in that first race. So the main positions you want to be looking out for are basically 1st to 12th. If you can get yourself into that top 12 in qualifying, it gives you a good chance to race into a top 12 position, and then you're in with a shout of a reverse grid going your way for the second race.
Absolutely. So you saw James King there taking a very, very wide entrance, trying to maximize the amount of time he's on the right pedal, the loud pedal, heading towards Duffer's Dip, and that's not ideal. The car coming out of the pit lane, nothing that anybody could have done about that. That's just where the pit lane exit is, so nothing James could have done about that, but he's carrying on the lap anyways. It's a little bit far from the apex there, coming through McIntyre, but comes down through Butchers over the chicane once again, catches the first apex, keeps the car nice and settled, a little bit of a tail wag along Brabham Straight now towards Clark's. So you can see the undulation starting to change. Nothing too bad, but the car just struggling to turn in a bit as the tail having to let go slightly to help rotate the car. Railway straight now. It's fairly well kicked actually, but it's referred to as railway straight now. It's Taylor's hairpin. Get on the power as early as you dare. What is this going to be an improvement for James King? He finished in the top 5 last time out. It is an improvement. That puts him up to 10th position, right behind Ben Weston in the 80 car.
Yeah, James was right near the sharp end at Donington, not quite fighting for the podium positions, but he was basically in the next group. So he'll be looking to kind of continue that form this week, and so far not so bad, but we'll maybe be hoping to just find an extra couple of positions. I think the main thing is going to be the battle out front with no McFadden there, who was looking so dominant in that McLaren. I think we're going to see such an incredible scrap for the race win on both races tonight. Ben Cullen, one of the favourites as well, heading into the hairpin. Now, he doesn't quite hit that apex curb, but seemed to carry decent speed as well, and sometimes you can get away without too much time lost by doing that. It's going to be his final lap though, so let's see if he can steal that pole position away from Boland. He cannot. It's a 50.52, so another good lap from Cullen probably would have been enough to get him second place anyway, but it's not enough to push Boland down, as we're now seeing Weston finishing his last lap. We've got Jack Trunwick now trying to break into that top 10 in his Mercedes, so we'll see what he can do, and he peels off into the pit lane, so no improvement for Trunwick either.
Now, last of the laps being completed here. So for those new to the show, I wonder where Colin was off to explore the beautiful Scottish scenery the way he was going. So this grid will decide the order for race number 1. It is reverse grid for race number 2. We'll get the grid confirmed as soon as we can, but wow, it is very, very close. And what we're seeing as well is a number of the drivers, particularly towards the sharper end, are hitting those times consistently. So with a track as difficult as this, consistency will often be the far better provider of results than raw pace.
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. It's such a difficult circuit when you fall out of your rhythm that if you try and push too hard, if you start, biting a little bit too much off in the curbs and maybe push a little bit hard through turn 1, for example, you will find yourself locking a wheel, missing an apex, getting the car unsettled and grabbing some gravel. And it's the kind of place where if you get out of the train, you're going to lose multiple positions. You really, really need to stay calm at Knockhill and try to avoid falling back through the field, because as soon as you're side by side with someone, you miss the next apex, you're forced wide, there's always an off camber part of the circuit on the outside with a gravel trap waiting to suck you in, and you're just going to keep on falling. So you got to be really, really careful. It's also a very difficult circuit to follow on as well. The visibility is not great, but there we can see, Chris, is our grid for the first race.
Indeed. As we'll just scroll to the top of it. There it is. So Chris Boland taking the top. I think that Stu Etok got the next spot, which I wasn't entirely sure the 45 car did. So that grid may not be entirely correct. We'll see when we head trackside. There we go. Also, something else to bear in mind that a number of the liveries have actually been updated since we saw them last time around. So either way, the lights are coming on. We are getting ready to race here at Knockhill. The fast race of the night is underway. That's a terrible start from the front row. So that is going to be difficult for somebody. But Boland gets an absolutely storming start there. Plastow was second, actually, on the grid. But that was a horrendous start from, may well have been Etok, actually. I do beg your pardon if that was the case. That must have been a very late charge towards the top spot. Riding on board with John Finton. Looks like most people have survived the early few corners of the first lap, which is far easier said than done at a track such as Knockhill. So far, so good then for our field, as John Finch gives us a brilliant ringside seat for the battle for the top spot. That gorgeous green Aston Martin under pressure from Chris Slater coming up to Taylor's for the first time. Can the F-Force number 32 get the job done side by side with the green cars? Got the momentum. Can he hold it though? Bob Cullen was the one that fell dramatically through the field, starting on the front row, now down in 7th.
Yeah, Slater put on a good move there, but Finch was wise to it and focused on his exit out of the hairpin. Really good stuff there. And now you see Slater under pressure from Cullen, but I think he's managed to hold that position as they head through Duffus Dip for the second time. And the green Aston Martin does indeed hold on. You've got battles, as you can see, throughout the field, though. Everyone line astern. So difficult to see where you are when you're sitting low in that car heading towards the chicane in a big queue. But looks like everyone's kept it nice and neat and tidy so far towards the front of the grid at least. You see there the late apex that some drivers are having to take as they head through Clark's. But Boland's going to be laughing. He's got a 7/10 lead over Plastow, who's fairly comfortable in second as well. And then Luke Arpino in the first of our Porsches just there behind. In fact, there they are. The top three seem to have broken away slightly from Etok in fourth. So I think Arpino's actually the one who's on the charge at the moment. I did say it last week, that livery on the Luke Arpino car, absolutely stunning. And he is looking angry and racy at the moment, right up behind the Aston Martin of Plastow as they head into turn 1. And yeah, Boland does have a little bit of a gap, but when I say little, I mean little. One mistake, and they're all going to concertina up together.
Yeah, a little bit of a gap from third to fourth, Arpino to Etok, as we're now looking at Plastow under all kinds of pressure as they're coming through the chicane once more. As can he? Oh, that is a mistake from someone. As that's going to be that was Etok that made the mistake. You see, he's now down into 7th position. But well reacted by our drivers to actually not plough into the back of Stu Etok there. The track is not very wide. It is very easy to become part of someone else's mistake.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think Etok had a bit of clean air as well before that, so I would suspect unless something dramatic happened, he's maybe just made a mistake there, getting on the gravel out of the chicane, and you see how quickly he's fallen back. But thankfully for him, he's managed to get back into rhythm as you see the drivers ducking into the pit lane exit there to fully optimise their line through the first corner. Are we going to have a look into McIntyre's? No, we're not. It's all about just keeping it parked. Very easy to defend around here if you can keep it tight, but that's not what's happened there. And a superb switchback from Ben Cullen. Gets the move done before the chicane, and away he goes. That was superb stuff. Just basically forced the other driver to defend the inside into McIntyre's too harshly and was able to get a superb exit. Really, really nice stuff from Ben.
Replay here. This is what happened. Oh, that is where the mistake happened. So just wandered too wide. And look at the amount of momentum and speed, time and momentum that you lose just with that one tiny mistake. So as we look at Bob Cullen once again trying to work his way through the field, back up into 5th position now. He got ahead of Chris Slater with that great switchback maneuver that we saw, which Chris could have defended that a little bit more, but sometimes you do have to kind of concede this move's going to happen anyway, so may as well just let it take place and try and recover a little bit later on. So this is Bob Cullen on the back of John Finch, that wonderful green Aston, the 886 car that is now about 2.5 seconds off the top three. They've got into their own little rhythm a little bit, but plenty of action behind. You can see also Fielding and Weston stopping around. Oh, it looks like Ben Weston has had trouble in the number 80 car. He may well have recovered his car back to the pit. And that's another thing. If you have an incident here, unless you are quite some way off track, you could well involve somebody else in it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's not much space or margin on either side, and we saw a little bit of drag on the first lap at the start, but I think they all got through there cleanly, so I don't know what happened there to West, unfortunately. Juski's dropped a long way back as well in 14th. He's 43 seconds off the back of King, who lost a few spots himself, down into 13th in the BMW, so he'll be looking to make some progress a little bit later on. But yeah, Chris Slater now looking racy on the back of Cullen, looking to recover after that move earlier. I mean, we talked about the move. I think Chris did do a decent job defending into McIntyre's, because you really do just have to park it on the apex. The problem was that Cullen knew exactly what Chris was going to do and prepared for it by basically, preparing the switchback, fully to the outside and then a cut back fully to the inside. So even though Chris made the apex and blocked, he wasn't able to get the exit sorted. However, at this occasion, it looks like Slater's going to be making the move back there. A superb exit out of the hairpin. He's got the inside line. Will we see a defend? I mean, there's not really much at this point you can do, and lots of room given through Duff's Dip. Nice stuff from Chris Slater, who hits his apex and takes back that position. So a superb battle here for that final spot in the top six.
Yeah, that's actually Bob Cullen and John Finch we were looking at. Chris Slater is actually defending against what feels like an army behind him. So here we have got our race leader. So that's Chris Boland, the 86 car, that has got himself 1.5 second lead against Peter Plastow, who didn't have such a good run last time out at Donington Park, but very commanding in his hold of second position. That's not by luck, that is by pace that he has got there. This is Chris Slater with Etok and Beres all over his tail. This is a battle of the Astons going on here. Actually, vast majority of the top 10 are Aston Martins. It is one of the most numerous, one of the most popular cars in this field, so it's not really surprising they occupy quite a bit of the top 10. But yeah, Chris Slater must feel so much pressure. All the British horses growling, staring at his rearview mirror. It is the problem is when you're trying to defend, when you're trying to concentrate on keeping the cars behind you, it's really easy to then miss one of those very crucial turning points. Oh yeah, very, very crucial braking zones here in Knockhill. And as you've already said, John, you'll be off into the dust.
Oh, absolutely. It's a glance in the mirror every so often, but you need to keep your eyes forward. I think the real place to overtake is the hairpin, so that's when you have to do your defending if you're going to do it. You also need to make sure you get a good exit, because it's very easy for a driver to focus on their exit and outpace you if you try and defend it too hard. The rest of the lap, honestly, if someone's not right up behind you and filling your mirror, you've got to just keep your eyes forward, keep pushing, and just basically maintain a racing line, because there's nothing anyone can really do about it. If you don't make a mistake, it's going to be very hard to get past you other than into the hairpin. We saw a fastest lap coming through there for Cullen in 4th, so that's good to see. But yes, as you say, a nice collection of Astons in the middle of the top 10 here. They're going quite well. I know there's a lot of them, but clearly reasonably well suited to Knockhill with the default setups. And always nice to see some Aston Martins. I don't know if you've seen the latest Aston Martin GT4 and GT3 cars that have been released, but they just look absolutely incredible.
I confess I haven't. I'll look forward to that. Back up to our top two there. That's Peter Plastow. Again, another one of our representatives from the Air Force, staring at the tail end, as he has been all race long, of Chris Boland, still maintaining around 1.3 seconds. I think Peter managed to close in a little bit on our lead car in the course of the lap. Was that a little bit too wide? It looked like there was a bit of dust kicked up in the air, but that may not necessarily be from there. Caught that apex a tiny bit too hard, going up onto two wheels, but the car nice and settled nonetheless. Back to Eaton. That, however, is a bit too much apex there. That's going to give Darren Beres an opportunity to slide through into 7th, and he does not need a second invitation in that in the number 40 car.
Didn't know Aston Martins could bunny hop like that. That was incredible to watch. Proper suspension work there. As we're going to see a replay now, it looks like the 80 Aston, getting
that's
out
Ben
on
Weston.
the gravel. That's what happened then to Ben early on in the race. So really unfortunate there. Would have picked up a bit of damage from that. And yeah, that's going to ruin his race. But of course, he's got race 2 to come back through the field. As we now watch, I believe that's the 45 of Etik heading into the first corner. Now trying to have another look at Bear, see if he can get that position back after the mistake we saw through the chicane. It didn't look like, once the car started bouncing there wasn't really much he could do. I think he did quite well to save it, to be honest. But it's just a demonstration of how quickly you can lose ground around this place. One mistake or one slight off track, and you lose that momentum, and through goes somebody. It's absolutely relentless.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ben Weston basically epitomising exactly what you were saying earlier, John, about falling out of that rhythm. He just had that run down through Guffer's Dip a little bit wrong, and then he's off into the dust, and there's no way he's slowing down here. But Darren Barris has no chance to think about that, as we're inside the grill, very literally, of Stu Etok, chasing that rear wing, the grey liveried Air Force car. And, you get a great idea of just how difficult it is to gain any kind of momentum. Slipstream, yes, is usable, but not very often in this track. You don't have big, long, sweeping straights. You don't have lots of right foot going on to be able to utilize any kind of slipstream advantage to any great degree. So it is, exactly as you said, John, it's all about the application of pressure and forcing that mistake, which Stu Etok is trying his best to do, but Barris was the one that took advantage of Stu Etok's mistake a couple of laps ago. We're already in the final third of this race.
Okay, always passes quickly around here. Just non-stop action, corner to corner. And these guys, trust me, it's only 10 minutes in, but I bet you they'll be feeling fairly tired after this one. Etik and Barris are going to continue their battle then. As Etik has a look to the inside, Barris is going to leave the door open, but he knows, that's the thing, even though there's a bit of a straight there, turn 1, you have to be fully alongside if you want to think about a move. You cannot go for a late lunge or anything. There's just not the braking zone there. And that was perfectly demonstrated there between these two. Barris hanging on for now. It's all about the line through the chicane. Can you get it settled? And then it's another bit of bouncing on the curb there. For Etik, he's really struggling actually through the chicane to get that car settled, and the problem is then this is the bit where he needs to be strong on the exit, and he's just lost that ground again, so he'll have to pick himself up again for the second race, try and work out what's going on through the chicane. It's another one of those bits in the circuit, Chris, that once you start getting it wrong slightly, it's very hard to find that rhythm again during a race. In a practice session, you can maybe go through there 50 times in a row without an issue, and if you get it wrong once, there's probably a good chance you're going to get it wrong for the next 5 or 6 times. It's incredibly muscle memory based. As we see Arpino under a lot of pressure now from Cullen, so this is for P3. Cullen's going to try the switchback. Arpino's going to have to leave a bit of room, but he's not quite got the overlap there. I tell you what though, he's going to be compromised through the chicane. Another late move on the way for Cullen. Great thinking here of basically driving ahead of himself, but Arpino is able to defend that move. Etik's going to go Cullen once again for a cutback, but it's not quite going to happen on this occasion. Great stuff between the two of them. Arpino hanging on for now.
We saw this last time, didn't we, in Donington Park, where Arpino was doing some absolutely brilliant defensive driving, and he is putting all of that skill to the test in that Porsche. But Bob Cullen, since that rough start he had, has been absolutely alive, carving his way back through the field, now challenging for that podium spot. Has he finally managed to wrong foot the Porsche? Well, look, Arpino's not willing to just give it up lightly. A bit of a nudge on the tail end of the Mercedes. I think the Porsche's going to have to concede. Oh, he's tried to cut back underneath and clouted that apex a bit too hard. That's ruined the momentum for the Porsche. Trying to take off. I was actually commenting before we came on air about how much air you would actually catch. Well, the Porsche trying to prove how much air you can catch. And the tail slightly misbehaving on the Porsche. Luke Arpino, you could easily have said, oh, well, that's the move done. He's going to have to concede. Like hell, he says. Has a look on the inside line coming up to tail. Can he outbrake the Mercedes? He's not going to have the traction, though. He was able to brake slightly later. Challenge for that third, but he's making Bob Cullen work for it.
Yeah, plenty of respect between these two. You can see it. I think they're going to be having a lot of fun in this race. Arpino wasn't quite able to hold on to the position, but he's clearly wanting that third place back. He's got the ambition, he's got the pace, and it's all about whether or not Benjamin Cullen can hang on to that one now that that move's been made. But we now have a look a little bit further down the field. This is back to the, I think that's the 86 car that we're looking at now. That's actually the race leader, of course, that's Boland. Of course, we've got Finch in the 886 a bit further back, but Boland has that 1.3 second gap. He's just passing the back markers, and you can see there Plastow in the background. It's been pretty much 1.3 seconds for the last 5-10 laps. It's been pretty consistent. I think Boland was able to stretch the gap early, and ever since then, the gap's pretty much remained there. I wonder if he's just managing it, just making sure he gets round, keeping his rhythm, not doing anything too crazy. The lap times are pretty good. Plastow's pace is okay, but I think Boland has this one in the bag as long as he can avoid any late mistakes here.
That's the thing, isn't it? Is that if you kind of settle, you actually run the mistake of taking your eye off the ball. Terrible lap there from Luca Pino. He lost 4 seconds off Bob Cullen. That was a shame. That was shaping up to be a fantastic battle for that last podium spot, but a mistake that we didn't quite see from Luca Pino has dropped him 5 seconds away from Bob Cullen, actually into the clutches of Fidge in the 886 Green Aston. As we now have a look at the 45 car, this is Stu Etok and Dan Berris. Now, they did swap round, I saw on the tower. That's Chris Slater, so that's a three-way fight for 6th position going on in the closing stages of this race. Final lap has begun in the first race here at Knockhill.
Yeah, Boland all under control, all the action's happening behind him, but he's just got to keep it nice and cool. Hit those apexes, not do anything too crazy. This is where it is going to get crazy, though. You've got this 3-car battle now as we cross the stripe. White flag is out. This is going to be the last chance. Not, as I say, not necessarily an overtaking spot, Duffus, unless you can get fully alongside. These guys are going to have to sort it out at the second part of the lap. So at this point, it's all about getting that run, getting that driver in front, moving around. And at the moment, it looks like it's actually the 40 of Berris that's looking the raciest of the lot of them. There's a car off there on the inside. I'm assuming that's going to be a back marker as they head through the chicane, but it's actually fanned out a little bit. I'm not sure if we will see any late changes of position on that occasion. Slater and Finch have swapped places, though. Meanwhile, Boland is heading towards the line to take race 1.
Your race winner for the first round, or round number 3 of the championship, is going to be Chris Boland. Second is Peter Plaster. Bob Cullen, take a bow, starting on the front row, dropped to 5th or 6th or so, and then comes home in 3rd. There's Luca Pino, what might have been in the Porsche, but right behind him is Slater et al. Look at this, 4 Astons, all roaring the way over the line. John Finch, with a late mistake, has dropped him out of that 5th position. Then he's going to be Ward in the next Porsche, followed by Trunwit in the number 24 car, in the next Mercedes for the Royal Air Force. There he is. My goodness me, once again, we were not disappointed with this. Boland, Plastow and Cullen, your top 3.
Yeah, 15 minutes around Knockhill Pass is like 15 seconds. It's unreal. And even then, in the last lap, we said it, I think the 3-car battle looked to have fanned out a little bit, and then they come out the last corner and there's 4 of them. I don't get it. It's incredible. But a really strong result there from Boland. Picking up where he left off at Donington, but this was an even stronger one for Chris. He had 2 third places. With the win there, all of a sudden he throws himself into the championship mix, which is great to see.
Right, so now we decide how many positions are going to be reversed. We had the full 12 last time around. Okay, production, spin the wheel. Let us see how many of our top 12 will be reversed. So we got the 12 last time. It's 12 again. So we have 12th is going to become our pole sitter, and then 11th to become second, on and on and on until our top 12 are then dealt with. 13th, I think we only have 15 cars in the race, so the back 3 will remain where they are. But wow. Now, we saw last time out at Donington Park, we had a very, very clean first race. The second one got somewhat frantic, and Knockhill is quite a scary combination.
It certainly is. I think patience is going to be a key factor in this race. The quicker guys coming through. Obviously, it was a really straightforward race for Boland. He had no one to really fight there. He's clearly got good pace. Same with Plastow as well in second. Those guys now 11th and 12th on the grid on a track that it's difficult to overtake on, and with drivers in front that might have a little less experience. It's going to be interesting to say the least. I'm definitely going to want to keep an eye on the onboards of some of the quicker drivers here, because this is going to get exciting. I think, of all the places to have 12 cars reversed rather than, 6 or 7, this is one of the juiciest. So, I'm certainly looking forward to this race.
We have 2 of our podium 3 are waiting to come and have a chat to us. So we will see if we can grab Pete Plastow, our second place finisher in first of all. There he is. One thing we commentators like to do is interrupt a conversation. So apologies there, Pete. Pete Plastow, are you with us?
Yes, I am, yeah.
Oh, well, you had probably... I say quiet race is probably a little bit unfair to say, but it was certainly a steady run. You were keeping that gap to Chris Boland. and it was all kicking off behind you. But talk us through it from your side. It looked fairly easy from our side. What was it like from a driver's perspective?
From the start, it wasn't too bad. I don't know what happened to Ben off the line. I think he just got a bad one. And then it was just a case of keeping Chris in touch. I know he's a little bit quicker than me. And I was just trying to stay as close as possible in case he did make a slip up. But other than that, pretty clean, quiet race.
So when, how has the practice gone? Has Knockhill been kind to you thus far? You had a bit of a mixed, I think it's fair to say, Donington Park. So how has Knockhill gone for you? Are you looking forward to the second race?
I will be, yeah. Hopefully it'll get better than my second race at Donington. The track itself is so tricky. It's just up, down, left, right, everywhere. It's absolutely those curves are terrible as well. It's so tricky. Even if you do get close, it's so hard to overtake. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the second one.
I was going to say, coming from 11th on the grid, Pete, what's your expectation for this one? Because that's going to be a really tricky first lap. Is it going to be just keeping your nose clean, or are you going to try and get some space for yourself?
Stay clean lap one, and then see where you're at. I think that's the only thing you can do.
Absolutely. So, and again, we thank you very much for your service. You're a member of our army. Are you able to go into a little bit of detail on what your day-to-day duties are?
I can do, yeah. So I'm in the REME. So we basically fix, repair, and recover all the military vehicles that are on the road, really.
As simple as that.
So yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's what we do.
Great stuff. Right. We very much look forward to seeing how your second race in Knockhill goes. So
yeah,
great stuff, Pete.
Next week.
Yeah.
Great
stuff. So great race number one, and we look forward to chatting to you again. Thank you very much. Pete Plastow. So that is our second place finisher. We have got, I can see Bob. I've been calling him Bob. It's Ben Cullen, I beg your pardon. So our third place finisher. So let's grab Ben in before we have a chat to our race winner. Ben Cullen, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here, yeah.
Welcome aboard, Ben. Right. I'm afraid we have to ask, what happened at the start?
I forgot that the Mercedes has a clutch, so I didn't have a clutch mapped. So it just So it was a case of hope no one hits you, basically. Yeah, it was a lot of looking in the rearview mirror and steering to the left as everybody went right.
But then it was an absolutely incredible drive to make up on a track that's difficult to make up any kind of time and position on. It was a great drive to get back into a podium position. You've got to be happy with that.
Yeah, it's something that I enjoy more. I enjoy the overtaking more than just like hot lapping. So it's all about thinking a few moves ahead, preparing the car for where I want to overtake, not where they think I'm going to overtake. And it's going to be good practice for this race too, to be honest. Whereas hopefully Chris and that won't have that much of an advantage of being used to having people in front of them that are slightly slower. So it's all good. I have got the stream playing at the same time, so I was listening to you commentate on me as I was driving, and I can't remember who it was, but somebody keeps calling me Bob, which
that's me. I know. I don't know why. Do not ask me why. It is quite clearly on my notes as Benjamin. I wholeheartedly apologise, but I realised too late that I've been calling you Bob Cullen all night.
That's fine. I like the commitment.
I even squeezed in a Benjamin, and then you still called him Bob.
And
so I'm impressed.
It was all good.
It's the name of my eldest as well, so I really have no excuse. So I guess again a similar question to you, Ben. Again, we thank you for your service. You're a member of our Air Force. Are you able to go into a little bit on what your day to day is?
Yeah, so I'm an aircraft engineer on Typhoon Force up at RAF Lossiemouth. So I'm mechanical by trade. So we look after all the hydraulics, engine systems, etc. with regards to that platform. So it's interesting times at this moment in time with everything going on in the world.
We can only imagine. So how are you looking forward to the second race? As you have some experience in weaving your way through the traffic. You looking forward to race number 2?
Yeah. Race 2 will be interesting. It'll be fun. We'll just try and make our way through as cleanly as possible. Everyone that's on the track deserves to be on the track, so it's about not ruining their race whilst trying to make the way forward.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Again, I will write down Ben Cullen. Ben Cullen. Ben. Great stuff. And we very much look forward to your performance. So,
Yes, thank you very much.
ready for race 2. Thank you very much, Ben Cullen. And now our victor. Let us drag into the box. Chris Boland, are you with us?
Yeah, hey guys.
Well, it looked fairly straightforward, but talk us through it from your side.
It's about as straightforward as you can get around Knockhill. There's no let up there. I'm absolutely knackered, and I think it's time to get the fan down from the loft because it's rather warm.
Well, our Knockhill expert and racing guru John Monroe actually said that, despite the fact that it looks simple, he did allude that it is still very taxing. There will be some that will be certainly feeling it. So you'll be starting from 12th in this race. That's going to be quite a challenge.
Yeah, I think I'll just shut my eyes and hope for the best.
It's not a bad idea.
Goodness me! Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be fun trying to carve through. Obviously, there's not many overtaken places around Knockhill, so I'll try and make a few things happen. But it is what it is. Starting from 12th, you can only do what you're given. So.
Well, I mean, it was a double podium last time out in Donington. It's backed up with the top step this time. Again, is it just a case of survive, or is there a podium aspiration in there?
No, I think there's definitely a podium aspiration, and I think I've got the time for it. But like I said, it's just getting the opportunities to get past people and hoping a bit of luck goes your way rather than against you.
Well, we very much look forward to it. I really cannot wait. Well done on the race win, and we look forward to your performance once again. Thank you very much, Chris Boland.
Thanks, guys.
Another member of again, thank you very much for your service in our Royal Air Force as well. So then, Mr. Monroe, what can we expect from a reverse grid race here in Knockhill?
Well, we can expect a couple of quick guys like Chris we've just spoken to and Peter on charge. I think it's going to be a case of finding the space. It's going to be picking your way through at the moment where it suits. You don't want to try and go too early and cause chaos, or maybe, if you give someone a bit of a surprise, if they break a bit earlier than you do, for example, when you've got the pace over them, it's very easy to make a mistake and get things wrong. So it's going to be patience, and it's also going to be taking those opportunities when they're presented. Try and, as soon as someone makes a mistake, you need to be alongside and forcing the issue. I think we'll see that because these guys clearly have good pace around here. The question is who can make their way through the traffic better, and hopefully they both survive early doors. And then, of course, for the guys at the back of the field that are now starting right on the front, it's a great opportunity to get on the broadcast, to be leading some laps and hopefully fighting off the quicker guys. And of course, around this place you can defend. So, we could see some surprises in the mix, Chris. We could see some podium finishers that maybe didn't expect a podium heading into this one. So there's going to be plenty for us to keep our eye on.
Yeah, absolutely. So now the podium was dominated last time out by the same three names in the same three positions, amazingly. From last time out. So Adam Barron was our double second place finisher, and Chris Boland, obviously to whom we've just spoken, was third twice. So he's already got another podium to add to the list, so keeping a consistent podium score. So without Stuart McFadden, of course, not able to continue his winning ways this time out, but we looked for. I wonder how he's going to be tackling the rest of the rounds, because losing even one round, despite the fact that he's an 18 race season, we lose the four lowest scores at the end of the season. So that is a big deficit he potentially faces, as we will be heading trackside very shortly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what it does do is it takes away your margin for error. It now means that you've pretty much got to get every race right. If you have some bad luck, if you have some incidents, there's only so many you're going to be able to drop. So it's not the end of the world for sure for Stuart, and also for Adam Barron. Bear in mind, 2 second places. He's also missing tonight. So this is what these guys expect. Some of them won't be able to do a full season anyway. It's part of the nature of sim racing on a weekday. And of course, a lot of the jobs that these guys do require a lot of time. So it can be difficult, but they'll be hoping to continue anyway. And what it does provide, of course, is an opportunity for the likes of Luke Arpino, for Chris Boland, who are going to make more rounds potentially, or at least have made these ones, to just get some good points on the board. The more big point scores you can get early doors, the more space you're going to have to play around later in the season, and the more you're going to be able to get away with. So I think Arpino will also be happy with how tonight's going, and of course Boland will be absolutely delighted. But it looks like it's going to be Fielding towards the front of the grid, and potentially James King on pole. James, of course, 5th in the championship heading into this one, so he did have a strong Donington. Not looking so strong in the first race at Knockhill, but he's been handed a bit of a golden ticket here.
Yeah, so it's a BMW front row, actually, with King and Fielding ready to do battle. Then Tronrit and Ward on row 2, Etok and Beres row 3, Finch and Slater row 4, with Arpino and Cullen rounding out row 5, Plastow and Boland on row 6, Ijewski and Weston row 7, and Scott at the back of the field. Now, are we going to have a rolling start with the safety car in the middle? That would be my assumption, that we are having a rolling start for this one. Otherwise, the safety car is going to be real popular real quick. And there we go. So that confirms it. The lights, while we see the tempo there, they won't actually light up until the safety car has pulled in, as is a standard rolling start in iRacing terms. So 15 cars then will take the start once more. Hopefully we won't have as many difficulties for some of the drivers as we had last time out. But if we are going to have some thrills and spills, yeah, like you said earlier, John, this is going to be spicy.
It is indeed. Familiar sight for the safety car driver, having 2 BMWs filling your mirrors on the motorway. But I was getting a bit of a fright there. I thought we were going to go green with a standing start. So it's actually good. I think the rolling start will probably encourage a little bit more space on the opening lap. It'll get the cars up to speed heading into turn 1 and maybe cause a little bit less bunching on a very, very narrow pit straight. Of course, the other thing about a standing start around here, the pit straight's not flat. You may have noticed it's very much curved in numerous directions. So it's very difficult to keep the car still. And with these cars on their locked setups and everything, some of them don't have a clutch. We were referring to that earlier with the bad start for Benjamin Cullen. So this is a difficult place. Maybe they've taken that decision just to make things a little smoother for the second race, or maybe it's just because it is the second race, the nature of a reverse grid. But either way, it's still going to be frenetic, it's still going to be hectic, and this first lap is still going to cause some drama for sure. I think Weston's going to be looking to make moves as well, Ijewski from the back as well. Lots of quick drivers towards the back, so plenty to keep our eyes on, probably too much to keep our eyes on, but let's get going.
Right, the pace car then peels in, so it's going to be the lights will illuminate shortly. It's going to be King and Fielding in the BMWs. They're going to be getting up to speed. They want to get going as soon as they can. The green flag doth wave, and we are racing again here in Knockhill. You can see the various choppers and changes on the tower. Everybody is behaving themselves so far. So how long that statement survives for, we will see, as we are looking at race 1 winner going a little bit too deep, coming through McIntyre. That's going to cost him a position. He's down into 12th now, but that's going to make him work even harder to try and work his way back up top. James King trying to make hay with the sun shines. Already has himself a second gap. There is Etok that's trying to break through into the top 2. Luke Arpino up into 5th position already. He's in a great start in the Porsche. As we now look at the next of our BMWs, that was Fielding losing a position to Etok. Darren Beres on the inside line. He's trying to get through, but he's slightly boxed in. Look at that 3 wide at the back of the shots. That's fantastic stuff.
Yeah, Cullen, Plastow all making their way through. Arpino's made a great start as well, as we've seen. But they're going to go 2 wide into Dove's Dip. This is going to get interesting. But they've both, as we've seen all night, to be fair, given each other plenty of racing room. That's great to see. Slater slots in behind Cullen, who's definitely not made a bad job of the start like he did in race 1. Meanwhile, King has danced away at the front with all that battling for P2 between the likes of Etik, Beres, Fielding, who's dropped back a little bit in the BMW. King's taken the opportunity, so we'll definitely have to keep an eye on that one. He'll be trying to just romp away with this, because we know his pace is pretty good. You can see there Steve Ward in the middle of the pack as well. There's your lead BMW, and you think he's on the track. He's got the track all to himself. No one else in sight. Meanwhile, everybody else within the space of about 5 metres. That's going to be a slide for Ben Cullen. Almost lost under braking. In fact, he goes in deep. Did really well to not crash there, has to be said, and he's going to lose a little bit of momentum and pace. But at the moment, it's Boland who's quite a way back now from the likes of Plastow and Slater, so this is a perfect chance for these guys to try and make their way forward without Boland right in the mirror.
It's Slater and Plastow that were side by side with the dark bronze and black Aston making his way through into 8th position ahead of Chris Slater. Benjamin Cullen getting ahead of Ward for 6th position. And look at this, as Darren Beres on the back of Luke Arpino. The Porsche a little bit wrong-footed there, giving the momentum opportunity to Darren Beres. So the battle for 4th very, very much alive. We cut back to this battle with Chris Slater, with Ijewski, who's survived the opening round. Arpino and Beres swap round again. It's impossible to know where to point the camera because there's so many opportunities for overtaking that opportunities for overtaking, as in so many battles going on, it's going to be difficult to know who's about to make a move. But Luke Arpino has just lost out at the moment, but he is keeping Darren Berrios honest.
Absolutely, and Etox definitely picked up the pace a little bit because he's closing in slightly on King. That lead gap now down from 2.3 to about 1.7 seconds, so let's keep one eye on that. If we had, well, it'd be helpful if we had way more eyes, but Chris Slater, actually, that's the 32 car picking up a position, so that is Slater, that's was that Ward?
Back. Steve Ward that's gone too wide in the Porsche.
Yeah, so some work to do there. You can see it's just dropping a wheel here and there, getting a little bit wide, touching the gravel. It just sucks so much lap time out and speed out of these cars, and at the moment you're just going to drop through half the field if you make that mistake. There's a good view now from the back of Berrios. Arpino looking for the late entry and then the cut back and a good exit. It's been a pretty good exit, has to be said, but also an equally good exit for Darren Berrios, who's doing a solid job up there in third. He's 1.4 seconds off the back of Etik, so a bit of clear air for the guys in front. Etik actually closing the gap even more so on our leader James King, so watch out for a lead battle in about 4 or 5 laps time, I would say. Meanwhile, Berrios has been doing a solid job here, because we know Arpino has pace, but Berrios made the move stick, took advantage of the mistake, and now looking fairly comfortable in that third spot.
There was a little bit of a flirt with the gravel there from Darren Berrios coming through McIntyre, so that he ran the risk of being pounced upon by the Porsche, but did not go his way. Look at Stuart Etuk. You can see them at the top of the shot. The Aston now hustling the BMW. Can he do anything about it? Can he wrestle that lead? We are about to find out. Berrios and Arpino coming through in their duel for third place, but with Benjamin Cullen, you see just at the top of the shot, is a little bit on his own now. 2 seconds clear of James Fielding. It's down in 6th position in the front row starting BMW. Look at this, James King now very, very much in defensive mode against that number 45.
Yeah, you need a big pace advantage here to make a move stick easily, or you just need a mistake. So it'll be interesting to see now. Yes, the gap's come down quickly between these two, but what has King got in terms of a defensive drive here? What has Stu Etik got in terms of putting off his rival? It seemed like a little bit of a mistake there, though, from King as he ran wide. So now we're going to see that gap come down further. The shorter Aston having a little look to the inside just to try and unsettle James, but James seems to get turned in okay. Misses apex, has to be said. Etik's actually gotten a better exit there as we now head down towards turn 1. You can see Etik making his way through the gears, and yeah, this gap is no longer a measurable gap in time. You can see it visually in front of you. It's basically nothing, and this is when the real race starts.
Absolutely so. Well, yeah, like you say, it's all well and good catching the back of the BMW. He's now got to find his way through, but that's not going to help. James King bouncing off the apex, although there was no real opportunity for Stu Etuk to do anything about it. He could not capitalise on his pace advantage. Also, Darren Berrios has got Benjamin Cullen now joining him in that battle for third. Oh, and there's an opportunity that Stu Etuk didn't need a second invite for. That's James King not getting the greatest entry through Clark. That has been absolutely left for dead by the Aston Martins, whilst the gap isn't huge. Again, comparatively speaking, that is a very decisive overtake for Stu Etuk. But look at Ben Cullen now on the back of Luke Arpino. So Luke was challenging Darren Berrios, but now has got his mirrors absolutely full of race 1 winner Ben Cullen, who gets either his personal best or the fastest lap so far, with still 8.5 minutes to go. So Ben Cullen has got time to wrestle his way through, but of course now he's at the sharper end of this field. That's those overtakes are going to be quite difficult. We've seen him do it once. He's certainly in prime position to do it again.
Yeah, we're seeing some drivers that we didn't see at Donington really coming to the fore here on their debut for the season. We're missing a few, of course, of the podium finishers from last time, but then the likes of Ben Cullen's been super racy tonight, looking really good again in this one. Obviously, Berrios up there in third, doing a solid job as well. Our leader, Etik, by the way, is only 19th in the championship after Donington, so this is going to do his season a world of good, because right now he's romping away at the front. Of course, these guys have pace behind, but Etik looking solid, looking composed. Meanwhile, Benjamin Cullen is looking racy on the back of Arpino. He looks to the inside. Is he going to try a late braking move? He's not going to send it to the inside, but he's certainly going to leave his nose there or thereabouts. Does he look to the inside towards McIntyre's? We'll find out in a minute. As Slater dives down the inside into Duff's dip. The BMW sideways, it's such a dramatic section of circuit. It looks like Cullen has the position on Arpino as they head now towards Clark's.
So it wasn't Ben Cullen, was it? Our race 1 winner. It was Chris Bowden that was our race 1 winner. But either way, Ben Cullen had that incredible recovery drive to get back up into the podium spot. And he has indeed gotten past the Porsche. 1.6 seconds separates him from that what is now a 3-way fight at the top. Let's have a look at a replay then of the move. So this is coming down through that first game, through Duffer's Dip into McIntyre. And, well, the door was left open a little bit. And, again, you don't need to give Ben Cullen a second invitation to make a move like that. So up into fourth with already 3/10 gone out of the gap between himself and Darren Berris.
Yeah, respect to Arpino there. I think what he's done is, they've come through Leslie's and the move has clearly been suggested from Cullen. He looked to the inside, and at that point Arpino decided, you know what, if he goes for this and doesn't work, we're going to have a crash here. So he's kind of stayed out wide and gone for an undercut, but it was just good driving from Cullen, it was, of course, to then take that inside position and then not lose out on the exit. So good overtake from Cullen, good sensible driving from Arpino, but wasn't able to capitalise on the cutback, and those positions, of course, switch. Meanwhile, Ijuski inside the top 10 this time, so a good step up from that first race. Looking racy as well on the back of Fielding, who was on the front row, of course. He's had a bit of a nightmare dropping back through the field so far, but it's very easy to drop back through, and there's a bit of contact, a little bit of netcode involved there, so a bit unfortunate, I would have to say, rather than anything too malicious. But around goes the BMW, and just as I say he was dropping down, he drops down quite a few more positions, so yeah, real shame there for Fielding.
Yeah, that is a great champion. I mean, that is actually a good run from Ijuski. Race 1 didn't go particularly well, so starting near the back of the field as we see James King get really squiggly on the exit of Clark, but manages just about to keep it on the straight and narrow. But yeah, Ijuski now inside the top 10, so a solid result for him. As we now look at Steve Ward, we saw him have a bit of an off early in the race. That's Darren Berris challenging the BMW for second place now. Our pole sitter is not able to capitalise on his on the reverse grid start. Ben Cullen then follows through. He's in the slipstream of his fellow Aston Martin, so it's Etok from Berris from Cullen now your top three.
Yeah, there you go. King out of the train essentially just for one corner, and you just know that there's two positions gone in a flash. There's absolutely no way you can slot in between the two of them. That's the nature of this circuit. I just don't think King's quite got the pace around here that he had at Donington, and he's still doing a good job, don't get me wrong. Top 5, holding on for those big points. There's only 5 minutes to go, unbelievably, but he just doesn't quite have the pace of these guys who are now coming through from further back, and Benjamin Cullen's on a charge here. I think Cullen's probably second favourite to win this race behind Isak at the moment, all over the back of Berris, who's done a good performance himself. Meanwhile, we jump back to Steve Ward, just on the fringes of the top 10. It's him who's going to be next to challenge the back of Fielding, who was facing the wrong way not very long ago, but has done a good job to get back in line as well. Meanwhile, of course, keep one eye on Boland and Plastow. They're making their way through 6th and 8th at the moment. As we jump on board with Berris, there is the view of that hungry-looking Mercedes. Ben Cullen in behind, into Duffus Dip, and yeah, nice and composed from Cullen. Is he going to try the same move down the inside as he did in Arpino? No, he backs out of it. Didn't want to try anything too dodgy there on the inside, and it looks like Berris, for the moment, is going to hang on. But how long will this last? 1.8 seconds the gap between this battle and our leader, Itak.
With less than, well, we've got 4 minutes to go, and pretty much 4, maybe 5 laps remaining, as Cullen has a look to try and capitalise on the slightly extra momentum, but it was only just more momentum he had than Darren Berris coming out of Clark, and now going to force him to the outside line. The Mercedes can't get the traction he needs. It's Aston from Mercedes from BMW. Cullen tries again now, as he's now going to have the inside line for Duffus Dip. If he can just get alongside that Aston, far easier said than done. Both drivers determined who's going to win out on this one. A bit of a hip check from Cullen, and they're still side by side now coming into McIntyre. Who's going to win out here? That's been Cullen's favourite overtaking spot all night. He's done it again. That's second now for the 16 Mercedes.
All thanks to the exit from the hairpin. Superb stuff from Cullen, getting the power on early, getting it sorted and fully alongside into Duffus Dip, which is what you need. We saw some British touring car action, we saw a bit of door banging, nothing at all untoward there, and just great stuff between the two of them. Both will live to fight another day, and Cullen moves up to second. It's now going to be Berris hanging on from King, but Arpino, I think, is going to have more pace than both cars in front of him. Berris, to be fair, has a pretty good pace, but King's been struggling a little bit. He's still right in the mix, though. Still right on the back of a podium space, and with only a couple of laps to go, it'll just take one mistake. Meanwhile, I'm seeing Fielding dropping down the order, so the BMW driver's now fallen outside of that top 10, which has promoted Steve Ward up into the top 10, and we're now on board with the Arpino Porsche. Nice over the sausage curb, gets a hook to the left, and you just want to stay as far left as possible. That curb at McIntyre again, very, very lonely, but Arpino hitting it there beautifully. Lots of sausage curb being taken through there. As you know, watching on board at Knockhill, I could do it all day. There's a great exit, a bad exit for King. Is Arpino going to have the time to look down the inside? He backs out of it. It's going to be all about the exit, and he's scared King away from the entry there, which is going to help him. But then Arpino runs wide on the exit. There's too much going on to even keep up with, but it's just a brilliant demonstration of what it's like to hustle these GT4 cars around Knockhill.
Oh, Arpino looks on the inside line coming up towards Taylor's, does not commit to it this time. Sometimes you just have to know that the move is not going to stick. Ben Cullen, 1.6 seconds behind Etok. Is he going to be able to gain quick enough to challenge that top spot? He was half a second quicker on that lap. No, it's going to be close. It's going to be very, very close between Cullen and Etok at that kind of difference. But we have seen Cullen pull in quicker laps than that. Has he got enough left in the closing stages of the race? And again, lots of curb there from the 45 Aston. It's Aston from Merc, Aston, BMW, Porsche, all in that top 5. Absolutely fantastic stuff. But it has been controlled pretty well from Stu Etok as they are catching the back. I believe that is Trunwit. They are catching the back of the number 24 Mercedes.
Yeah, I tell you what, though, it's not over, because we've had this gap now come down from 1.7 to 1 second.
Wow.
It's now 9/10. There's a back marker up the road. We're going to get 2 more laps in, not 1. Etik, trust me, he is going to be feeling the pressure now. He knows the driver behind is faster. Look at that lap time, 50.9 from Cullen, 51.7 from Etik. I can guarantee you he is sweating behind the wheel of that Aston Martin, and he's got to just keep it mistake free now. He's got to focus forward, keep it clean. And Cullen does have pace, but it's not going to be that easy to make a move here. But it's going to be all about how Etik does. But now it's down to 7/10. It's not been a good exit from the chicane. Now down to 6/10. And here comes the back marker. This is going to be spicy.
Cullen has been driving like a man possessed all night long, as Trunwit in the Merc has nothing to do with it. Jumps royally out of the way into the braking zone. Over Taylor's riding on board with the number 16 as he gets a good run through the hairpin. But Etok just manages to get a little bit more pace. They might have 2 laps to go, you know. Just looking at the time. No, what am I on about? No, there's checkered flag out next time around. I can't count. So this is it. Final lap then. Here in the second race, it is all or nothing, do or die for Cullen, and that is wide for Etok. Does not make the apex, but no, Cullen's got nowhere to use that momentum. Just backs off a little bit, tries to give himself an opportunity, and there it is. Etok a little bit too deep, tries to shut the door. Cullen has none of it. Gets up into the lead, but can he hold it? Stu Etok on the outside. Is it put between the two? Oh, they're going to be side by side. The Aston draws alongside and slightly into the lead once more. Ben Cullen has the inside line for Taylor's. Who's bravest on the brakes? Who's going to get the best momentum? Very, very deep for Etok, and that's given the opportunity to Cullen. Your race number 2 winner, but down to the last corner of the last lap, number 16, Benjamin Cullen takes the win. Etok second. Darren Barris, I'm getting everyone's name wrong now, takes the last podium spot. Arpino 4th. King hangs on to 5th. Plasso 6th. Boland, our race 1 winner, comes home in 7th. Slater 8th. Ijewski is actually battling for that 9th position. The green Aston has it at the moment. Oh, it's side by side between the two. Ijewski just gets up in the multicoloured Merc. Who's going to hang on to 9th? By 7,000ths of a second, Ijewski manages. There's Ben Weston. We saw him. Unfortunately, he was a lap down at the end of the last race. But what a race. What a finish.
Absolutely. I mean, Etik there, just you could see the pressure building. He missed his apex at McIntyre's, and it was just about not making the mistakes. It was going to just be a case of keeping it clean and then defending into the hairpin. But what happened was he pushed too hard through the chicane, made a slight mistake under the pressure, and I mean, you saw the pace there is what made it happen there. Benjamin Cullen all over the back of him, just keeping that momentum up, keeping the pressure on, forced the mistake, took his opportunity when it came, but it wasn't over when we thought it was. Side by side through Clark's, side by side through Hislop's, side by side into the hairpin, and then it was all about who could hold their nerve. It's going to be battle of the late breakers, but also all about the exit. And of course, in the end, it was Cullen who prevailed. He'll be delighted with that race coming through from basically 10th position to win on the final corner of the final lap. Excellent stuff.
All three of our podium finishes are waiting to have a chat with us. Let's have a chat with our 3rd place finisher first of all. That will be Darren Barris. Darren, are you with us?
I am with you. All in body, but maybe not spirit, because I've got quite enough of a cold. But I am here.
Someone's happy with that result by the sound of it, and rightly so.
Yeah,
wow, you've really been right in the thick of the action all night long. Talk us through it.
Yeah, it's been a sparse real life racing sort of few years, probably 2 or 3 years, just through life. So I've had a bit of time to put into into iRacing and getting a bit more sort of settled in the environment. And yeah, I've just gradually sort of found myself gravitating a little bit further forwards. And I was one of my things that I've always focused on is just being consistent and try not to make any mistakes. Not 100% mistake free that race and the one before it, but yeah, just right place, right time, able to capitalise on the opportunities, and yeah, it's really good.
Oh, absolutely amazing stuff. There were times when we really didn't know where to look. There were so many battles going on, but your name was not stationary in the tower for very long, in both races indeed. So it has been quite a night. So well done on coming home in third in the second race. Now, again, we thank you very much for your service. You're one of our Royal Air Force representatives. Are you able to give us a small insight into your day-to-day?
Well, my day-to-day job, ironically, is in the synthetic training environment. So I do kind of this, but in the air domains stuff. So we're pull together all the different simulator projects into effectively a big combat training environment. That's the project I'm working on right now. So this is a bit of a busman's holiday. My day job is almost my racing hobby in a weird, twisted kind of way. So yeah, it's really interesting to see how the military at large are developing the synthetic training side, as we in RF Motorsports are using synthetic training to help our live racers and those who can't afford to go live racing get into motorsport. So it's a really all those synergies really come together well.
Oh, that's amazing stuff. Well, that's wonderful. Wonderful to hear that. Where the hobby and the real world kind of collide in a slightly unforeseen way. Well, yeah, I'm not sure I've got anything else to add. There was so much going on. My brain is kind of melted at this point. So any questions, John?
Well, I mean, obviously this was your first appearance of the season, and you put yourself right in the mix. Good battles throughout and good results. How does it, make you feel going forward? What are your expectations for the rest of the season? Because I think you've proven your pace, and we know that there's a lot of quick drivers to come back as well. So plenty of good racing to come. Do you think?
I'm a bit like some of those Formula One teams that don't qualify particularly well, but actually are pretty solid in their race pace. So I know I'm not the fastest driver out there, but because of my real life experience, I kind of have a bit more of a measured approach to some of the sort of opportunities that come in front of me and think, no, that's not an opportunity I would take or I believe is the right thing. And that's really kind of what I hope to carry into the rest of the season is appreciate that I'm not necessarily going to sit at the top of the timesheets, but when it matters during the race, that it's about being in the right place. It's about, making those measured decisions so that hopefully I could just move my way up the grid and get some nice solid finishes.
Great stuff. I think you're underselling yourself somewhat from what we've seen this evening, but absolutely great. We very much look forward to seeing how the rest of your season pans out. I'm sure this won't be the last time we speak to you.
Thank you very much.
Great stuff. Great finish. Thank you very much, Darren Barris. Right. It is, by your suggestion, John, I think it's a good one. Let's have a chat with Ben Cullen and Stu Eatock at the same time to get their insights on how that incredible battle went down. Ben Cullen and Stu Eatock, are you with us?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you as well.
Right, we pulled both of you in at the same time because, okay, just Stu first. You had the lead. You had a bit of a gap for a while.
I had a bit of a gap, and then the big gap narrowed very quickly. And
talk us through from your side.
I could just see, the time on the timer going down, and it was just a matter of time. And unfortunately for me, I was losing pace towards the end, and especially when you sort of get conscious about the chicane, so because the chicane it cost me twice on the last race, going in the gravel, and I just kept thinking about it. That's probably the worst thing I could do. So it slowed me down, and then by the time it got round to that stage on the last lap, I think Ben was really, really close to me, so I made another mistake in it, and fair enough, he went past because he was flying.
And Ben, you pretty much did exactly what you said you would do, utilizing your experience on the first race to just carve a way through the field. Would it be fair to say we could see your grin poking out either side of the car?
Yeah, that'd be a fair comment. That was an enjoyable race from my part. I think anybody that wants to race is got the same grin when they're in a race like that, rather than just being out at the front. I'm sure if you even go to the likes of Verstappen, he'd much rather be racing rather than winning by 50 seconds.
Oh, but that moment though, just going into Taylor's for that last time, were you confident you had the move sewn up, or were you still kind of looking, thinking, where is he? Where can this go?
I was confident because I had the track position. It was just more about covering off anything that he could do. When we were running down to the hairpin, the only thing he could go for is the switchback. So it's just covering it off. In real life, that's easier said than done, because in iRacing, you're playing with iRacing physics. So I didn't want it to be glued together and we both end up in the gravel or worse. So I was confident because of the track position, but I was heavily reliant on good broadband.
Yes, a common sim racer's difficulty. Know exactly what you're talking about there. Wow, gentlemen, you put on an incredible show. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Ben, I know we've asked you this before, so Stu, again, we thank you very much for your service. You're a member of our Royal Air Force. Are you able to give us a small insight into your day-to-day?
I'll go after you, Ben, if you want.
Ben's given us this insight before, I mean, Ben, you're welcome to elaborate on what you do.
Well, yeah, as I mentioned, I'm an aircraft mech on Typhoon, and to be fair, I might as well just let you know now, but like I'll be in and out of this championship, probably be few and far between, purely because of courses and then deployments, unfortunately. So I'll enjoy it whilst I'm here, and hopefully not ruin anybody else's running.
I mean, fair enough. We of course completely understand that people's dedication to the cause is as good as it can possibly be. So no, we completely understand that. So Stu, give us a small insight as to what you do. So
I'm based at RF Wittering, ground electrician. I've been there coming up to 4 years now. So day to day, all the ground equipment that's associated with aircraft, basically we look after that and manage the fleet throughout the world, really, on behalf of all the units, and support them where we can.
And we thank you very much for your service. So, wow, what a night that has been. Any questions from you, John?
No, I just want to say I really enjoyed that last race, and obviously, it's good to see some different names at the top. We had the same two podium finishing orders at Donington, and it's just nice to see some new names there. Shame you won't be joining us for most of the season, Ben, but we will certainly enjoy our time with you when you are out on circuit, because it was great to watch. And Stu, I mean, I guess I could say this to you. Obviously, this was a good opportunity for you to get a win, and it was so close. But it's a big improvement on Donington. So how are you feeling about the rest of the season? Do you think you can try and get back on that podium again in the future?
I hope so. This has got memories of before in the Porsche with Ryan. So the same thing happened at Knockhill. I try and get away on the second race. I can get lucky, and then you can just try and get away because the guys are so quick. But yeah, I'd hope so. I made a lot of mistakes at Donington. I made the same mistake twice, which cost me. But I think I hope to improve, and hopefully, I can be up on the podium again.
We very much look forward to seeing it. So, again, we'll round it up at this point. So, thank you very much for an amazing night's racing. Thank you very much, Ben Cullen and Stu Eatock.
Thank you for your time, guys.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. And that is going to bring an end to tonight's festivities. Thank you very much to those that have joined us on the stream, either live or post-event. Your presence is always very much appreciated. Thank you very much, John Monroe, for keeping me on the straight and narrow in the commentary box. This is a difficult job, and you weather it well. So a great pleasure, as always, to share the commentary duties with you.
Likewise, Chris, and big thanks to our drivers for putting on another great show. I think that's 2 rounds now we've covered, or 4 races. Both times we've had great side-by-side action, lots of overtaking, but really clean stuff at the end of the day as well. And there's obviously a great camaraderie and a great atmosphere within the paddock, on the Discord channels. Just hearing it in the driver's voice, everyone's having fun, everyone's having some good racing, and it's just a great place to be. So thanks to all the drivers, and thanks to all of you for watching as well.
Yeah, absolutely echo that. Our drivers have done a great job in putting on a great night's racing. Thank you very much, Steve Proudly, for being in control of the broadcast and the cameras. Awesome work as always, and we will see you all next time for some more racing here for the AFVRC. Until next time, thank you very much and good night.